Okay, welcome back to Fat Butts and Cookin'. Today we are making pumpkin cheesecake. So I'm going to make the crust first, and it's super simple. I've got some pumpkin spice, some almond flour, some icing sugar, salt, and butter, and that is all you need for the crust that we're going to make today. So we're going to start with the almond flour, and we are going to do 1 cup of almond flour per cheesecake. So I'm making 4 cheesecakes today, so I'm going to do 4 cups of almond flour. Okay, so there's our almond flour. Now we're going to put in 2 tablespoons of sweetener per cheesecake. Okay, so that's 2 tablespoons of sweetener per cheesecake, so I did 8. You can cut back on the sweetener if you don't like it as sweet. I have a sweet tooth, and with keto, having this icing sugar, the Truvia, and it's made with the erythritol, so it has 0 carbs, so I'm going for it. Next step is to put in 1 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. Now I made this on my own today. I did 5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 3 teaspoons of ground ginger, 3 teaspoons of ground nutmeg, and 2 teaspoons of allspice. And I did that because for our next recipe, I need 12 teaspoons of the pumpkin pie spice. So I'm going to use just 2 teaspoons of the pumpkin pie spice in our crust, just to give it a little bit of a kick, because it is going to be a pumpkin pie cheesecake. If you're not making a pumpkin pie cheesecake and you just want to make a regular cheesecake, you could always just put in a half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay, so that is in, and now we're going to do a pinch of salt per cheesecake. So I'm just going to give my grinder a couple of spins here, and remember, it's always best to use pink Himalayan or just regular sea salt. Okay, so now that is in, I'm going to mix that all together. Okay, so now that that's all mixed up, I am going to add 4 tablespoons of butter per cheesecake, equaling 16 tablespoons of butter. Then I'm going to mix it all up really well. Okay, so that's mixing up nicely. I'm going to add in a bit of xanthan gum just to make sure that the batter gets nice and thick in our pan when we cook it. So I'm just going to put in 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum, and that's for the whole thing. So only a half a teaspoon per cake. And then I'm going to put some eggs in here too, and I only need 1 egg per cake. So I'll add 4 eggs in. Best at room temperature. If you can leave them out for a little bit to get them to room temperature, that would be awesome. Okay, so this is what it looks like all mixed together. So now I'm going to put a thin layer on the bottom of each of my pans. Okay, so this is what it should look like. I just flattened it out all to the edges, made it nice and even, as much as I could anyway. If you do want to do up the edges, you'll just have to double the recipe for the single for each one. But I like to just have it on the bottom. Okay, time to make the filling. So our ingredients are the pumpkin pie spice that we made earlier today, the pumpkin puree, cream cheese, icing sugar, xanthan gum, and eggs. So the first step is to put your pumpkin puree. I'm going to do 1 cup of puree per cheesecake. So I need 4 cups of puree today. Okay, so we got my puree in, and the puree I actually made myself. You don't need to. You can buy canned pumpkin puree, and just as long as it's the real one. And there's no shame in that. I made this by myself because I was gifted pumpkins from the Hutterite. Okay, so the next step is to put in cream cheese. I like to buy the 8-ounce packages, and you actually just need 1 package, so 8 ounces of cream cheese per cake. So I am going to put in 4. Now this works better if it's softened, so I softened it up, and I'm going to mix it all together. But before you mix it all together, add in your sugar substitute. So I am going to use the Truvia icing sugar, and you need 1 cup of sugar substitute per cake. In the case that I'm using icing sugar, I'm going to just do 3/4 cups. But if you're using just the granular sugar, you should use 1 cup. Okay, so now that those 3 ingredients are in, I am mixing it all up, and I'm going to mix it until it's smooth. I did soften this cream cheese before I put it in just to make it easier, and you can do that either in your microwave, leave it out for an hour or 2, or in my case, I don't actually have a microwave, so I used my air fryer just to, on like reheat, and heated it up a little bit to get it to soften up nicely. Okay, so that is almost smooth now. I'm going to add in our pumpkin pie spice and our eggs. So I'm going to put in 3 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice per cake. So I'm going to put in 12 teaspoons. Okay, so this is mixing quite nicely now. We are ready to put them into our cake pans over our crust that we made. I did set the crust in the fridge for about an hour before making this. So they are nice and hard and ready to go. And we will put those in. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's poured in. Now, I was only able to actually make 3. I guess I didn't guesstimate for the right amount of stuff for the deepness of my pans, but that's okay. I can always make more later. So now I am going to bake these in the oven at 350 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes or so, and then I'll take them out of the oven to cool, and then I will freeze them. Okay, look at those. They're so perfect. I'm pulling these out of the oven, and I'm going to chill them for about an hour in my fridge before I freeze them. If you aren't planning on freezing them and you're just making the 1 to eat, or 2, whichever, you still need to chill them in your fridge for about an hour or until nice and cool before you eat them, just to set them. Thank you for watching Fat Bustin' Cooking.